Someone asks you probably around this time of year, "So what are you doing for your birthday?" And you say the thing that apparently requires an explanation. Nothing. It's just a day. And suddenly, you're the one with the problem. Your friends look concerned. Your family calls it sad. Society has decided that if you're not blowing out candles and posting a photo with a caption about being grateful for another trip around the sun, something must be fundamentally wrong with you. But what if nothing's wrong with you? What if the way you experience your birthday isn't a wound, it's actually data? Because psychologists have studied this, and what they found says far more about the people who don't understand you than about you. There's more than one reason a person ends up here, and the reason matters. Because not everyone who treats their birthday like a regular Tuesday got there the same way. Let's start with the first group. The ones nobody talks about. The ones who didn't choose indifference, the ones life taught it to them. In 1967, psychologist Martin Seligman discovered something that would change how we understand human behavior. He called it learned helplessness. When someone experiences repeated disappointment with no control over the outcome, their brain eventually stops trying. Not because they're weak, because they're efficient. The brain is always running a cost-benefit analysis. And when hope consistently costs more than it returns, the brain stops investing in it. Birthdays, it turns out, are a prediction error machine. Here's how science works. Your brain runs on expectations. Neuroscientists Schultz, Dayan, and Montague showed that your dopamine system doesn't simply respond to good things happening. It responds to the gap between what you predicted and what you actually received. A reward you expected produces almost no dopamine. A reward that surprises you produces a flood of it. And a reward you expected that never arrives that produces a crash. So picture this. You're young. You expected the party. You expected your friends to remember. You expected to feel, just for one day, like you were the point. And when none of that happened, not once, not twice, but year after year, your brain did what it was designed to do. It stopped predicting the reward. It stopped releasing the dopamine. And eventually, you stopped caring. Not because you didn't want to care, because your brain decided that hoping hurts more than forgetting. So when someone says, "It's just another day," listen carefully. That sentence wasn't born from apathy. It was built from scar tissue. And the fact that they can say it calmly, without flinching, without needing you to understand, that's not coldness. That's armor. But not everyone who skips their birthday carries that weight. The second group looks completely different from the outside. These are the people who genuinely forget. Not from pain, not from protection. Their brain is simply running 17 tabs at once, and their birthday got filed under not urgent. Right next to the dentist appointment, they've rescheduled 4 times, and the email they've been meaning to send since last month. Psychologists call this time blindness. When you're deep inside a project, a deadline, a life that demands everything you have, dates stop being landmarks and start blurring into background noise. These people aren't avoiding their birthday. They're not suppressing anything. They just care about so many things simultaneously that one specific day slips through the gaps. It's not that they don't value themselves. It's that they're so present inside their life that a date on the calendar doesn't feel like it needs its own ceremony. And then there's the third group, the most misunderstood of all. These are the ones who didn't forget. The ones who aren't hurting. The ones who looked at the entire architecture of birthday celebrations, the cake, the song, the expectations, the performance of joy, and quietly said, "I'm good." Not because they're cold, not because they're lonely, not because they're trying to make a statement. They just genuinely don't need it. Psychologists Ryan and Deci spent decades studying what they called self-determination theory, and one of their central findings was this. The most psychologically healthy people are the ones whose sense of worth comes from within, not from external events, not from social rituals, not from a song nobody asked to be sung at them in a restaurant. Researcher Philip Brickman called the opposite pattern the hedonic treadmill, that cycle where you chase the next celebration, the next milestone, the next external confirmation that you matter, and it never quite lands the way you hoped. People in this group stepped off that treadmill. They stopped outsourcing their joy. Think about what that actually means. While everyone else is waiting for one specific day a year to feel special, these people figured out how to feel whole on a random Wednesday. That's not emptiness. That is one of the rarest forms of psychological freedom a person can develop. If any of this feels familiar, if you recognize yourself in any of these three groups, go ahead and like this video. It helps more people find this conversation. And if you want to keep exploring the psychology behind why we become who we become, subscribe. This is exactly the work we do here. But here's where it gets complicated. Because underneath all three groups, the scarred, the scattered, the self-sufficient, there's a childhood scene that explains more than any of the science. Picture this. You're 8 years old. You have been counting down for weeks. You told your friends at school. You imagine the balloons, the cake, the moment when everyone gathered and the whole room was, just for once, entirely for you. And then, the day came. And it was quiet. Maybe the people you hoped would show up didn't. Maybe someone forgot. Maybe the whole thing arrived smaller than the version you'd been building in your head for weeks. You didn't cry. Not where anyone could see. You just quietly adjusted, recalibrated, decided, somewhere below the level of conscious thought, to want a little less next time. And the year after that, a little less again. Researchers at Johns Hopkins found that our brains don't simply remember painful anniversaries, they relive the emotion attached to them. They called it the anniversary effect. Every year, when the date arrives, your brain doesn't just note it. It loads the original file, the original feeling, the original quiet of a room that should have been louder. Your calendar moved on. Your brain didn't. That 8-year-old is still there, still waiting, still deciding whether it's safe to hope. But here's the part that changes everything. The plot twist most people never see coming. Not everyone who skips their birthday is doing it from a place of strength. Psychologist Jennifer Crocker at the University of Michigan studied what she called contingencies of self-worth, the conditions people attach to their own value. And she found that some people disconnect from celebrations not because they're free from needing them, but because they're afraid of needing them. Afraid that if they let themselves want it, really want it, the way that 8-year-old wanted it, and it doesn't go perfectly, it will confirm something they already quietly suspect about themselves. So they opt out. Not from confidence, from protection. And that distinction is everything. Because there is a real difference between someone who doesn't need the party and someone who wants it desperately, but decided long ago that wanting things out loud is too dangerous. One of them stepped off the hedonic treadmill. The other one never felt safe enough to get on it. So here's the only question that actually matters. And only you can answer it honestly. Is it freedom, or is it fear? Not what you tell other people. Not the explanation you've rehearsed. What you actually feel when you sit with it alone, on the morning of the day, before the world starts asking what you're doing to celebrate. Only you know. And the fact that you're paying close enough attention to even ask that question, that already says something important about you. Because here's what we've been getting wrong all along. We were taught that celebration equals caring. That if you don't make a production out of your birthday, something must be missing inside you. But what if we've been measuring the wrong thing entirely? What if the truest form of self-worth isn't needing a room full of people to confirm it once a year? What if knowing your own value quietly, privately, without requiring a ceremony, is actually the harder thing to build? Maybe someone watching this right now spent their last birthday completely alone. Not because nobody cared, but because, for the first time, the silence felt like enough. Not like absence, like peace. If that's you, you're not broken. You belong to a quiet tribe that doesn't need permission to feel whole. A tribe that learned, sometimes through cost, that what you need to feel like yourself doesn't have to arrive wrapped in expectations. But just in case nobody has said it to you plainly, you're allowed to want it too. Both things can be true. The freedom and the longing. The peace and the part of you that still remembers being 8. Nothing was ever wrong with you. Have you ever spent a birthday alone and felt completely fine about it? Or did the fine take a while to become real? Leave it in the comments. You might be surprised how many people reading your words right now have been sitting with the exact same thing.